Good morning, it's Rabbi Shlomo first year, Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi. Here in Yerushalyim, here in HaKodesh, we have our first year here. We're normally learning Avos, but for a day or two, tomorrow's Lag BaOmer, so we're going to take a day or two off from our usual learning in Avos to learn about Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. That's based on the Gemara in Shabbos, Lamed Gimel, Lamed Beis. Easy to remember, Lamed Gimel, right? Lag, remember, Shabbos, Lamed Gimel, Lamed Beis. And this will be the story of what happened when Shimon ben Yochai, and we'll see some insights in it. The Gemara is basically dealing with a certain point that Rabbi Yehuda was referred to as the Rosh HaMedabri, the major spokesman. He would begin whenever there was a public announcement or meeting that was convened, so there would be a certain list of people who would be speaking. So Rabbi Yehuda was the primary spokesman who spoke first. Why is that? The Gemara is dealing with the question, why should that be? So if you take a look, I'll try and focus you on where the Gemara begins, where you're going to start learning. Okay, you see the margin, there's a very, in the old editions there, they took them out, okay, no problem. We'll work it out some other way. It's about maybe 12, 13, maybe 15 lines down from the beginning of the wide lines there. 1, 2.
What's the first word in the line?
Yeah, it's actually, I think, at the 11th. The first word on the line, how about go to the last word on the line? The last word, Shema Mina Va'amai. Shema Mina Va'amai. Shema Mina Va'amai. Shema Mina Shin Vei Va'amai. Okay. Do you have it there, Marcus Yao?
No.
Okay, hold on. Gimel. On the base is the second page. Va'amai. And why? And why? Va'amai. Yeah, okay. Any volunteers? Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a great day, Larry. We hear from this.
Well, okay, this one is the end of the previous statement. So now, V'amai, now is a new question of the Gemara.
Okay. V'amai, and why? Aru, lay, Rosh, Ha, Yidabrim. Why do we call him the leader of the speakers?
In all circumstances. And that's what it's called. Rosh HaMedabrim b'kol makom. He's the Rosh HaMedabrim, he's the chief speaker, the lead speaker in all situations. So why should this is the reference to Rabbi Yehuda. Why should Rabbi Yehuda be referred to as the one who's always speaking first, and he's the chief speaker? Why is he the spokesman? What happened?
The Yasvei, Rabbi Yehuda. What's the Yasvei?
They were sitting.
Oh, they were sitting, Rabbi Yehuda, or Rabbi Yosei, or Rabbi Shimon, the Yassi, and they sat, Yehuda, then Garim,
Then Gary Gabayim. So what was it? Yesvei, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosei, Rabbi Shimon. They were sitting, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Shimon, and also who was sitting along with them, Yehuda ben Gary. He was also sitting there. First you should know, why is he separated from them, right?
Right.
There was a group of the three, and then Yehuda ben Gary was listed as a separate entity. Why it has to be, we'll have to try and we'll have to see what that's all about.
Tzach Rabbi Yehuda began. class began in this case?
Yeah,
You opened?
right. As a matter of fact, take a break for a second. This is the second line in Rashi, just what's Rachel Medaber. Second line in Rashi, up on the top, very top. Second line, Moshe Rabbeinu, yeah.
The mitzvos.
The mitzvahs.
The mitzvos. Hamalach.
Hamelech.
The commandments of the king. Thank you. Shezo.
Shetzavo.
Savo.
Yeah, Shetzavo Allah.
Isn't this a z?
No, that's a tzad. Shin
That's
tzad.
when the phone
Yes.
Savo alav. That they commanded him.
Right.
The deber, to speak. Techila first. The whole makom in every case. Kidelikman.
As will be said,
Kidelikama.
as will come later on. Right, so that's Rosh Medabrim. Rashi's explaining the definition. What's the point of being of the Rosh Medabrim? The mitzvah Melech was the command of the king. That the king commanded upon him, Rabbi Yehuda, to speak first in all situations.
So it was the king.
Yeah, we'll see it. As it's going to be explained later on, that's where we are now. So again, we're getting back, it says that the Gemara said that there were Yeshiva, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Shimon, and Yeshiva Yehuda ben Geri, Gabayah, when he was sitting along with them. And he didn't seem to be part of the central group. He was somehow associated with them, but not the same way that the three were associated amongst themselves. So what happened?
He began of Amar, and he said, Kama na'im me'ashina Masihen. How many things can you do?
Well, kama noim, how nice. Kama means
Nice.
how nice.
Nice.
Noim is noi, from noi. How nice, Maseim shel umazu. How nice the works, the actions of this nation. He's referring to, I believe, the Romans. He said, right, that look how nice what they're doing. Look at all the nice things they're doing.
Tikanu, Shivakim,
Shvakim, like a shuk. Right, from the same word as shuk. Tikkun. We had, remember in the morale we had this word tikkun. I see tiknu. Here they established. Established marketplaces. Yeah.
Tiknu, Gisharim, Tiku Markatos.
Right. So they established bridges. They built bridges.
Of Gesher,
right? They built bridges, and Tiknu Markotsois. They also built bathhouses. So he did three things. Right, from a merchants. So look at what Rabbi Yehuda is saying. Look what all these nice things the Romans are doing. They are making marketplaces, they're building bridges, they're building bathhouses, all things that people need and make good use out of. Right? That was Rabbi Yehuda's statement. Okay, what happened next?
Rabbi Yosef Shakach. Rabbi Yosef was quiet.
Right, Rabbi Yosef didn't say anything. He was shusing.
Na'ana, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai.
Yep, exactly.
What's Na'ana?
He answered, like what we say.
Answered Anna.
Yeah, Anna, exactly.
Answered Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He wasn't there, I thought.
No, that was Rabbi Shimon. That's the reference. Sometimes you see Rabbi Shimon, you should know there's a general rule. Stam Rabbi Shimon, when it's just mentioned Rabbi Shimon in the Mishnah, that's referring to Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai.
Got it. Okay. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai answered, V'amar, he said, Kol ma she tiknu, lo tiknu ella, everything that they create, they only create litzorka, for their benefit? But what's tzorka?
Their needs.
For the needs atzman, for the needs of themselves.
Right. Tzorach is a need, a requirement. And the tzorach atzman is for their needs, their requirements, or for their interests. So Rabbi Shimon said, no, He said, whatever they're doing, kol masha tiknu. Whatever they're doing, they're only doing it for their own interests, for their own needs. Right? As he said, the truth is not you going to the heart of the matter. And he says, if you think they're doing some nice things, then he's going to tell you exactly what they're doing and why.
Tiknu Shavakim, they created markets, Lahoshiv Bahen, to sit in them,
To sit, literally to sit, place in them.
to place in them Zonos, lewdness,
Harlots.
harlots, harlots.
Right. So they wanted marketplaces that people could come and gather, and there'd be these women available for relations.
So in other words, the government was profiting from the...
Yeah, they had a tax. They paid a tax.
Oh, a tax. Oh, I see, a tax.
So the women had to pay a tax to the government. Yeah.
Umar Katzos, and what was that? That was bathhouses. Le Adan Bahen Atzman, to use them for themselves.
Yeah, to use for their own pleasures, right?
Garashim, bridges.
Yes, Gesharim.
Gesharim, the toll, Mehen, Kama,
Meches.
Meches, to, what's he told?
To take.
To take from them tax?
Yes, that's right. There be a bridge tax. You want to cross the bridge, you have to pay money. Now we even have that today, right? Want to pay
Absolutely.
tolls?
Yeah, in San Francisco it's very expensive.
So the Golden Gate Bridge? Yeah.
Not the Golden Gate, I don't think that's a toll bridge. The Bay Bridge, the one that all the commuters use.
Oh, yeah.
It's I think it's very expensive.
How much?
You know, it's been a long time since I've been there. I remember $10, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I think we're
every
going back.
day, $10 a bridge every single day. That's a lot.
Each way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's making
That's
money.
also going back like 20 years. So it's probably a lot more now.
That's a moneymaker.
Yeah.
But even though they're taxing, even though technically they're doing it for themselves, doesn't it benefit the people?
Yeah, a little bit, right? But don't think that you're doing. Don't say it's don't say it's praiseworthy what they're doing.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You can say that there's a famous statement. I think I didn't hear it correctly, if I'm not mistaken. If you're familiar with the New York metropolitan area, you know there's a bridge, Verrazano and Narrows Bridge, right? That gaps the bridge between Brooklyn and Staten Island, and what used to be before that bridge was built, and I think in the 60s, you have to take a ferry if you want to go from Brooklyn to Staten Island, right? So you have to take a ferry, and then from Staten Island there'll be smaller bridges that take you to the Jersey side, right? Got the Gemara here in Shabbos, Lamed Gimel, the Gemara about Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. We're just talking now about the Rabbi Yehuda was called the Rosh Medabrim. So the Gemara is asking why was he referred to as the Rosh Medabrim, and so that's going to now explain to us the Gemara why it was called the Rosh Medabrim. Rashi explained at the very beginning earlier that it was the Tzivu the Melech, the king, the Caesar, commanded that Rosh Yehuda should be the first one to speak in all situations. He should be the major spokesman in all occasions. And this is the reason why. So, because Rabbi Yehuda had said, in reference to the Roman conquerors of Eretz Israel, he said, take a look and see how nice, right? Come enjoy my saying Shalom Uzut. Look at how nice the things that this nation does. They take the shvakim, they make marketplaces, tiknu bisharim, they make bridges, tiknu marchatzis, they build bathhouses. So Rabbi Yossi Shasuk, he was quiet. And then the Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, remember, he said, Kol ma shetiknu lo tiknu ela litzorach atzmi. Whatever they build, they're only building for their own needs. Right? Tiknu shvakim, they build marketplaces, why lo she ben zonas, that they should have harlots in the marketplaces. Merchatzois, that they should adim behen ma'atzmi. They should get pleasure from being in the bathhouses. They should take taxes from the bridges. So I'm just explaining that you're probably familiar with the New York metropolitan area a bit. The Verrazano Narrows Bridge, right? So it used to be before that bridge was built, right? So you would have to take a ferry to Staten Island. And on Staten Island, you take the one of the bridges from the Staten Island to New Jersey, right? And then, because the only other way to get from Brooklyn to New Jersey is to go up, right, into Manhattan, either through one of the tunnels or the other bridges, go through Manhattan, which is no joke. If you ever been in Manhattan, you go through, cross through, and probably to the Lincoln Tunnel or to the George Washington Bridge, which is the one on the north side. You have to go like another 40 miles north or so to get to the George Washington, and then come another 40 miles down to get to the same spot where you wind up if you now take the Verrazano Bridge. So when they built this, when they were building this bridge, so they spoke to Aaron Cutler's at Zal. He was the Rosh Yeshiva and the Governor of Torah in America at the time. So he said they think they're building the bridge, right, to take taxes and to make it, right, easy to get from Brooklyn to Staten Island. Because we know the truth. It's easier for now for the Buckram to go home and to come back from Brooklyn to Lakewood. So they're saving all that Bittul Torah and the extra 3-4 hour, could be a 3-4 hour drive extra that they were saving to when they built that bridge. So Rabbi Kutler knew the truth. The truth of the matter was that there's going to be a lot of Bittul Torah that's going to be saved because of that bridge. Right? They were doing it, why? Because they wanted to make taxes. They also were interested in saving the commuter's time. That was their altruistic motive, and their ulterior motive was to get taxes. You don't want to lose money, of course, but they can't claim that they're doing it for our sake. Don't think that it's such a great praiseworthy thing, because they're doing something which is basically utilitarian. Right? They're not doing something for some altruistic motive.
But if ultimately it's helping the Bachram not waste Torah, then they did something good.
Oh, so Mamela, that's what's going to happen. This is the Gemara in Avodah Zorah. The Gemara in Avodah Zorah starts off on the second Amud of Avodah Zorah, the same thing, that when the Melech Mashiach is going to come, so all the different nations of the world are going to come and make claims to the Melech Mashiach, and they're going to make this exact claim. The Romans are going to come and claim, hey, we built marketplaces, we built bathhouses, we built bridges, right? So he's going to say this exact same thing. You did it all for yourself, right? You did it all for yourself. So the question is that they ask for the Gemara in the Avodah Zorah says, of course they knew that they did it for themselves. They didn't do it for them. No one, when they were building the Verrazano Bridge, would say they're doing it so to save the B'nai Torah in Lakewood, Bittul Torah. No one in the world, would think of saying that concept, right? But the truth is, it is saving them the time to get back and forth to the yeshiva in Lakewood. Right? So what's this question that they're going to come with, that when Mashiach is there, they're going to come with the claim, well, we did it for the Torah, we did it for Torah and mitzvahs, right? Because the answer is that when Mashiach comes and everything's going to be revealed to be as truth, they're going to see that what they actually did was Min Shemayim, Hashem was directing them, right, with all these ideas and these concepts in order that they should be helping the B'nai Torah. And the Jews living in Brooklyn, the Jews living in Lakewood, to save their time and to save the Bittul Torah. So they're going to see the truth. So they're going to come and claim, right? And look, the truth was that that was what Hashem wanted, and we were just following the will of HaKodesh Baruch Hu, so we should get rewarded for it. The answer is going to be no. You never thought about these things. The truth was it was being done to help the Jews, but you never thought about helping the Jews. So therefore, you can't get rewarded for it.
That's well and good for Hashem, but for a person, I mean, for me as a former American citizen, currently American citizen,
Dual American.
As an American citizen, for me to not be grateful to the government for all of the infrastructure that they provide, which made my life so much better, that would be a definite lack of gratitude on my part.
Yeah, look, Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, and all the bad things that the Mitzrayim were doing to the Jews in Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu, when it came time, Hashem said that he should he should hit the river and it should turn to blood, he couldn't do it. Because the river had saved him when he was a little baby. The river would carry his little boat along the river until he was found by Bathsheba's Pharaoh. So he couldn't do it, right? So there is a very strong concept of HaKodesh. It's true. You have to have HaKodesh. So but again, in terms of reward, you can't reward somebody for more than they have in mind, right?
Right.
They only get rewarded according to what they had in mind. The other spin-offs of what they did and how they benefited, right? If there's a reward for that, only HaKodesh Baruch Hu knows to give a reward for that, right? But the person is rewarded according to what he's trying to do.
But here we have Rabbi Yehuda, who doesn't say anything about their motivation.
Right.
He just says, look how good this is. We got roads, we got bridges, we
Right.
got bathhouses.
Right.
Isn't this nice?
Okay.
And so Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is not saying, well, they don't deserve reward for this because they didn't have the right idea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well,
he's saying, oh, they don't deserve reward for this, but Rabbi
I know
Yehuda didn't say anything about reward.
No, he's talking about praise. This Gemara is talking about praise. The Gemara in the Avodah Zarah that I mentioned, which parallels this one, is talking about reward. This is talking about praise. And Rabbi Yehuda was praising them, right? So, and Rabbi Yehuda also probably knew the truth. He wasn't. Rabbi Yehuda was.
That's my point.
He also knew that they were doing it for their own benefit.
Right.
But nevertheless,
He's saying, look,
he
it's
felt,
good stuff.
right, so let's praise them, even though they're doing it for their own benefit. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yeshua, no. Look at the paninis, look at the inside of what's going on here, right? Don't look at the outside benefits. Look at what you want to praise somebody. You should praise somebody who's roy to be praised. Who's roy to be praised? Who is doing something from honest motivations. Meaning, you want to say, no, am I saying? You want to say how nice are their actions. You don't want to praise someone, right, for actions which are done for selfish motivations, because that's not what we call roy l'shpat. That's not something which is commendable, right? We want to commend somebody who's going beyond the regular thing. A person who does for his own self, there's nothing unusual, nothing commendable about that, right? The Chovos HaLevavos makes a tremendous statement. He says that a father and a mother, right, everything they do for their children is not being done for the sake of their children at all. They're doing it strictly for their own sake. Right? Because why? Because the natural tendency of a father and mother is to see themselves in their children. Their children's success is their success. So they want success for their children, right? Because they want to be successful, right? So they're doing it because selfish motives. So that's not commendable. Right? The person who's to be commended is doing something, right, purely for the altruistic, charitable motivation that Hashem wants. That's what we call the Shema. Right? Simply for the sake that it has to be done, not because he's going to get something from it. Now, a lot of times you simply can't. It's psychologically, emotionally, it's simply impossible to do. You just can't separate. It's such a strong tie. A father has such a tie to the son in terms of the desire of the success of the son that he can't pull himself away. The HaKodesh, where Avraham Avinu, who did so, that was part of the whole depth of the test that Hashem was testing Avraham Avinu with, because you just can't separate that bond between the father and the son. But that's the fact. Yeah.
Aren't we talking about the absolute best of the best case scenario here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you're bringing Avraham Avinu and you're bringing the HaKodesh into it, you're talking about the top of the line.
Mm-hmm.
Is there nothing else?
Yes.
There's nothing else.
Yes. No, there is something else.
Okay, so then what I'm understanding here is there's nothing else.
Well,
Because if the Rav is saying, you know what, even if it's not pure motive, isn't there a Gemara concept that says even if your intent is not pure at first, you're still going to get some... So he's just pointing out the fact that... And so what? It's all or nothing?
well, so again, we have Rabbi Yehuda, who is praising, and we have Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, who says, realistically, there's nothing to be praised around here. Yeah,
To extent.
seemingly two extremes. Two extremes. You have the extreme of the Akeda. Now you have, and we have like what's expected and what's appropriate. Okay? What's expected is that you should try and diverse yourself from your bias, your interest, your self-interest. You're supposed to try and do that as much as you can, right? So that's praiseworthy, right? And if you can and you're successful, that's great. Avraham Avinu we're living on the merits of Avraham Avinu because of what he did, right? And how he was successful with this, right? He was willing to go to the very limit of diversing, taking himself, and at the same time he was willing to fulfill the will of HaKodesh Baruch Hu. He was crying tears. This is his son here, after all. This is his future, his spiritual future, his physical future. A son he waited for, 100 years for, and you take it to dash it on the rocks like that, right? But that gives you a little glimpse into who Avraham Avinu, who we are. We have a very strong part of us is what Avraham Avinu, what he was capable of doing. He gave it to us the power to do it also. Maybe not in his absolute extreme case, but certainly in minor cases, right? So you're right. If we should do things l'shma, but shalom l'shma will bring to l'shma. You can do it for alternative motives, but don't think that is the end of the story. Don't think that you've achieved anything by existing at that point. Right? You're not achieving anything. That's what Avos was saying. The father, everything he does for the son, if he's doing it basically because he's interested in his own success through the medium of his son, he's not accomplishing anything. It could be that everything that this father does for the son doesn't get a credit for a mitzvah.
Right.
No credit for a mitzvah. He's doing it simply for himself. So, until you hear these ideas and try and integrate these ideas and try and at least change your attitude. It's basically, you're doing the exact same thing. You're feeding the son, his little baby boy, he's 2 years old, you're giving him his porridge and apple. So you're feeding the same old 2-year-old, right? The question is, why are you feeding him? What's on your mind? I want this child to grow stronger and greater and better to serve the HaKodesh Baruch Hu. And I know if he's going to be doing that, it's going to be good for me too. You can say, what a wonderful father you are, and all kinds of things. Right? And you can't separate that mitzias. That is the mitzias.
What's
right?
mitzias?
The fact, the reality of the reality of the matter is that every father feeds his son. I mean, in normal situations, right? And every mother nurses her babies, right? But if she's nursing her babies with this in mind or that in mind, it's two different worlds.
Isn't it also possible that they're just feeding the child because the child's hungry?
For sure, yeah, for sure, definitely, right? That's chesed. So you do when you look at all the chesed. What the child, someone who's helpless, right, living in your own house, there's no less chesed if someone knocks on your door, asks for a couple of shekels, right, or asks you for a glass of water. Guy's a thirsty guy. He's been collecting for 2-3 hours and knocks on your door and says, by the way, I need some money for this chassan I'm making, and then also I'm a little thirsty, maybe some cold water. So you give him the cold water, give him a couple of shekels, right? And he goes on his happy way, right? But what you've done is tremendous chesed, right? So a child living in your own house, feeding your child that's hungry, a dirty diaper that has to be changed, right? Buying him shoes and clothes and teaching him how to tie his shoes and all these kind of things. There's so many millions, billions of different behaviors and actions that we do in the raising of a child, right? But when you look at it, like with the clear microscope of what Chazal and Gedolei Torah look at, they make an analysis and say, hey, if you really think about what's going on here, the father's doing this for his own benefit, right? Would he do this for another child? How many people will bring in an orphan to their own house and do that, from the very beginning, right? And without pay from the Social Security, from the United States government and the welfare department of the city. They'll take him in for free, for nothing, and raise him from the beginning to end. How many people do that? Very few. Why? You have to do the same thing for your own, because it's my son. What's it my son? My son is me. right? If he's successful, I'm successful, right? So you're doing all those things, all those millions of mitzvahs, right? And you're doing it for yourself, right? So your value of mitzvah is very low. You certainly get rewarded for the mitzvah. You fed the child's fed, he's satisfied. He's got shoes, he learned to tie his shoes. He's on another dimension of existence now that he can tie his own shoes. No question about it. And you're the person who did that. However, the depth and the dimensions that go into that mitzvah, the rewards of all of that mitzvah that you've done, tremendously different if you're doing it for yourself or for pure reasons. Now it's difficult, but again, the fact that you're doing it for yourself shouldn't separate yourself from the fact that you can do it for autistic motives, right? You can do it for the case that this is a child just like any other child that needs to be helped, and I'm doing it simply because it needs to be helped. Right? So you have Rabbi Yehuda and your Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Rabbi Yehuda was saying, hey, look, they're doing great things. Right? They should be comforted. They should be praised for what they're doing. And Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, wait a second. Right? Everything they're doing is for themselves. Right?
So is there no instance in what they're doing that is praiseworthy? Or is it not praiseworthy for them?
Well, if you're talking about the case of the Gemara, you have to also understand the times that they were living in.
Okay, but how does that relate to us today then, if you're talking about the times
So
back then?
Today, I think the biggest thing is to realize that we have to do the best we can, and everything else with the God. Because if we're going to judge ourselves on every part that we do, then we're never going to know where we are. So our job is to try and to always look, like the Rabbi said, to the top, Avraham Avinu. Try to work our way to that. But knowing along the way, we're not going to always succeed. But I don't think we're able to judge ourselves in all these things, especially in everything the Rabbi said.
Yeah, now, of course, the Torah, gratitude is another thing. Doesn't matter what your motivation was. If you got someone did you a tova, did you a good deed, you have an obligation of a debt of gratitude to pay back to that person in one way or another, right? Again, your debt of gratitude may be less if they had more selfish motivations than pure motivations. Might be a little bit less, but that doesn't change the.
That's what's bothering me about this, because he doesn't. I don't see the praise. He says it's nice, Na'im. Aren't these things nice?
Well,
And the answer is, yeah, they are nice. We do benefit from them. Okay, maybe they don't have pure motivations. Maybe they have other reasons. But nevertheless, I have an obligation of HaKodesh Tov to say, yeah, I'm thankful that they're improving my life.
Exactly. It's like, thank you. Please build another bridge.
Yeah, but if they're using it for the wrong reason, especially in those days, no, because it's all hurting, right? They have these things where they have snus over there. You don't want that in your country. They brought it in. So now you have to worry about the Jewish people who can't go over there. A lot of them joined them, and we lost a lot of people there too, right? So we see them in the destruct table. There were Greeks. They joined the Greeks. The Maccabees. They fought the Jewish Greeks. They fought. So no, it may be good in America. I think it's very different because in America there's a lot of Jews using it for the good stuff, and they can keep away. But there, it wasn't those kind of times where you can do whatever you want. It was a dictatorship. So if you're trying to see it from the Torah point of view, there's two big differences. In those days, you couldn't do whatever you wanted Torah. So if you have all these things that they're building up to take you away from Torah, why would they say that it's good? America is different today, right? It helped the Jews. They came from the Holocaust. They have shuls, they have yeshivas. It's a whole different way of life. So I think you have to think that in perspective of where it is and where it is. A lot of rabbis today give credit to America because it helped the Jews. I think everybody does, but I think in those days where they were living, I come from Morocco. Okay, I was born there. I couldn't wear a kippah in the streets. We had shuls. I had to be careful how we went to shul. I remember one morning there was one of these Arab things. They were walking and wielding swords, and it was Shabbos morning. They wanted to go to shul, so my father and my uncles, they got dressed as Arabs. They wait by the door, and when the rolls were coming, they snuck in. And as they passed the shul, they told us the story. They made a left and they went into the shul dressed as Arabs because they would have been killed if they were in the streets. So living in America, I don't think we understand that the way it was in those days. And these great rabbis, they didn't want this kind of stuff because it was taking away people from Torah. So if you put it into perspective of why they're not saying it's great, and you look at the rabbis in America and say America is great, right? All the rabbis say America is great. They can complain about all they want, but I'll tell them that most rabbis say America is great and help the Jews and all that. Two different times in life.
Yeah,
So are we saying America is great or America's not great?
Look,
America's done a lot for the Jews. We can't deny that, right? I'm not saying it's great or not. Well, it depends who the president is.
I mean, is it on the level that we wish it was? Well, of course not. Nothing is.
yeah, so again,
But isn't it the effort? That's what we're talking about here. We're never going to get there, right? You're not allowed to complete the task, but you're not allowed to withdraw from it. So if we're never going to get there, and we're never going to be perfect, and who today would actually sacrifice their child if God said to? No one. Right? So what are we talking about here?
So like this, focusing on the Gemara, you have the statement of Rabbi Yehuda, you have the statement of Rabbi Yerushalyim. Now in the middle, you have Rabbi Yossi, who was quiet. He didn't respond, right? So we have to try and understand what is the difference of opinion between Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai and Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda was clearly making a statement of praise, right? And Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai was clearly making a statement that if you look at, it could be the motivations and the consequences of what they're doing, right? So you have to question as to whether or not it should be praiseworthy or not. When you praise somebody, right, that means you're trying to have people take notice of what and who is doing something with the purpose that you should emulate what they're doing. You should follow in their footsteps. Right? You want to, especially if someone like you, Rabbi Yehuda, is going to be saying that this is proper, this is praiseworthy, this is nice. So it's going to have an effect on people who are going to be hearing this, right? And they'll be favorable to the government or less favorable to the government, depending on what you say, right? So let's take a little further. We'll discuss more of this tomorrow. Let's go a few more lines further.
I understand that's the Gemara where they one was Spanish and they wanted to kill Rabbi Shimon afterwards, right? Isn't it the Gemara where
we'll see. We'll see. He says now that was the statement of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. So now it says Cholech Yehuda ben Gerim. He went, Yehuda ben Gerim, right? Now it's interesting also, we should have just noticed, it's not, it's, one second. Yeah, Yehuda ben Gerim. His name is Yehuda. He's not Rebbe Yehuda ben Gerim, right? He's not. He didn't have smicha. Whether or not he was a Talmud Chacham or not, I don't know, right? Right? It's significant that he's not Rebbe Yehuda ben Gerim. That could be the reason why he was listed separately. He listed Rebbe Yehuda, Hatana, Rebbe Yossi, Hatana, Rebbe Shimon ben Yochai, Hatana, and then they were rabbis, right? And then there was Yehuda ben Gerim, who, whether he was learned or not, we'll see from Rashi that apparently he was learned, because we'll see, but he didn't have smicha. But it says, Hola Yehuda ben Gerim, the Sipur Divreihem. He told over their words, all the words, both that of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, and the quiet, the silence of Rabbi Yossi. V'nishma Malchus, and it was heard by the Malchus. There's a Rashi here. Sipur Divreihem. It's about almost directly across where we're on the Gemara. It's 4 or 5 lines up from where the Gemara is, and it's the first words on the line, Sipur Divreihem. We all have it there? Yeah. So it says there, Sipur, he told over their words, the Talmido. So obviously he was of a stature of some type of a Talmud Chacham. Made him not smicha, but that's not necessarily a chasson. He didn't have smicha. So he's not called Rebbe. So I had Talmidim. O Va'avi Ve'imo. This Rashi is very, very crucial. It's from an extreme of Talmidim or to his father and mother. I mean, that's what's he doing? You know, what's he doing? He's a little boy. He's 8 years old. He's telling things to his father and mother. And if he's 8 years old, telling things to his father and mother, he's telling he doesn't that much, but he has Talmidim. So why Rashi has a discussion?
Maybe they had a discussion at the table.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
Yeah, could be. But I mean Lo lehashmiyan lemalchus. Not that they should be told over to the malchus. He didn't say these things in order that they should have been informed upon to the government. However, nishma al yado lemalchus. Nevertheless, it happened that the malchus got word of it.
Right.
People started talking this, talking that, and the malchus got hold of it. So we'll have to stop here, and we'll continue with this tomorrow, Mitzvah.